What is up, everybody? My name is James D. Fiore, and this is Blackballed. Friend of the show, Nathan Pike, who was sued by MHCare Medical Corporation, I believe for defamatory statements that he made on his podcast, allegedly. That case is slowly making its way through the courts, but it's actually going a lot slower than people had thought. And there's a few reasons for that we will discuss today. I noticed that Nate Pike had posted a meandering screed on his Twitter page, on his X page, explaining why he, was taking so long in answering questions, and he filed an appeal. We'll get to all that in a second. But then I remembered. One of the posts that he was doing talked about how he was. Sorry, I'm typing at the same time. How he was didn't want to incur extra costs. Now, I found that really interesting, and I'm just going to show you why in a second here, just before I bring on my guest. Now, usually when people are worried about costs, it's because it might actually put a big dent in their bank account. But then, when you see what Nate Pike has done, I find it a little bit rich and somewhat confusing, and I'll show you why in a second here. Sorry, I just had to bring this up. So, again, the main point that I got out of that screed that he wrote today was that he said so much has happened in the case and they wanted me to answer questions, and I didn't want to answer the questions just because of this development and because of all these developments. And it's like, because he said that the answers would have had to been amended to match the new information. Court cases that are ongoing. But here's really the stickler, as far as I'm concerned, regarding Nate Pike saying that he didn't want to incur the costs of two different separate appointments that he had to go answer questions from the lawyers at MHCare Medical, and that would be this. To date, Nate Pike has raised $207,915. $207,000, to almost $208,000. And he says that he doesn't want to double the hours for his lawyers or double the cost. If I didn't know any better, I would say that it looks to me like Nate Pike is profiting handsomely off of this case. I wonder, I don't know if it's him or not, but I wonder who is paying for his legal defense, because there's whispers behind the scenes that it's not actually coming from him, but I don't know that for sure, so I'll leave it out there as an unanswered question for now. But here, to help us unpack what's going on exactly with this case, is the political dark arts specialist himself. His name is David Wallace. David, how are you, buddy?
Not too bad, James. Not too bad. And I heard what you said. Now here's the thing: 200 and something grand. Let's be honest, is not a lot of money in litigation. It's actually a drop in the bucket.
Well, if you don't litigate.
But my point being, I tried to litigate in my defamation suit, and I spent the upwards of almost $8,000 that I raised hiring a lawyer, getting consultations from other lawyers. It was always another $1,000, another this, another that. And it is frustrating. So you have to give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of the cost. This can be quite costly. So, the $200,000, that can evaporate very quickly, if we're honest. My problem is that he's given the impression that he is trying to move this along. Now, he filed the boilerplate state of defense or claim of defense and did nothing for almost a year. The plaintiff obviously wanted to move things along. The judge agreed. Court costs were awarded. There's been no attempt made, not even a minimal attempt made to advance this on his end. And then when he was pressured into questioning, now he's appealing that. That to me is odd.
Yeah, I have this. I think this is the notice of appeal. Notice of appeal and application, judge's judgment for order. And it's going to happen now. He's going to be facing questioning, I believe, on January. Is it the 27th or something? Sorry, I have it here. One second. Anyways, so the appeal, it doesn't look like he has any chance of winning the appeal. It says that the appeal will be heard on Thursday. The appeal will be heard Thursday, January 8th, 2025. We've spoken to a couple lawyers who have taken a look at this case, and this is one of those situations where, because he has made no attempt to actually answer any questions, and it's been, I think it's 10 months or whatever since this really has started gaining, being processed through the courts or whatever, and he hasn't made any attempt. It's kind of weird. It's not. It's almost like he thinks that the Bryant report or whatever is supposed to,
Point.
like we're supposed to, like he's supposed to wait for that because it will be beneficial to him, as if the court was set up, at his whimsy. Do you know what I
Seems so.
mean? like
See,
like
I do indeed. I mean, I'm
like at
quite
the end of the
anxious to see this advance.
so at the end of the day, what really should happen is that he should have gone in and answered questions, and then if new information surfaces from other areas, other investigations, whatever, other reports, you add that to your statement of defense, and you add that. I mean, I don't know exactly how the legal jargon works, but like you just add that as further evidence in your case when it comes. You don't just get to just sit back and do nothing until something beneficial happens to land on your lap. That's a weird way to look at this. And I'll differ with you on the whole $208,000 at this point of this case is a lot of money. There's no way that
Oh,
guy
it's a
spent
huge
more than
amount at this point in the case. Absolutely, it's a huge
yeah.
amount at this
There's
point.
no way this guy spent more than 20 grand. And
Then
maybe he
again, I'm not
has.
a
I don't
lawyer,
know.
dude. I couldn't even get out of first gear, and I was seven grand in. Couldn't even get
Yeah.
out of first gear. So you got to give the benefit of the doubts on that, because
I don't
litigation
have to
is
do anything when
incredibly
it comes to Nate
expensive.
Pike. I know. I know. Listen. I know that we want to keep this as above board. Everyone knows I have personal differences with him, and I'm not motivated by these personal differences as we talk about this case. It's just that what really kind of makes me a little bit confused is that this was like the Globe and Mail were covering this case. Let's put it this way: if MH Care was found to be non-cooperative in any case,
It'd be all over the news.
it would be all over the news.
All
Now
over
we
the
have
news.
MH Care on one side and the aw shucks Wally Cleaver kid on the other side. And apparently just crickets over at the Globe and Mail when it comes to this case. There's nothing to see here. He's lost a court battle already. He's appealing it. He refuses to answer any questions. He pretends that, that he has the luxury of being able to wait until beneficial information lands on his lap.
Wait a minute,
Nothing.
I'm confused. Are we talking about Nate Pike or Athanamentolopoulos?
Well,
Both.
I wonder if they've had lunch.
I wonder if they had tacos.
Yeah. She was his former boss. There's a power dynamic at play, but I don't think he has to worry about being sexually harassed with that thing on his face.
Hey,
So,
now, look.
I
Let's
know.
keep it
I'm
above
sorry.
board. Let's
Yeah,
keep it above board.
my bad.
Listen, I want to make an appeal right now on Nate's behalf.
Oh,
I've been sued by a billionaire before, and I didn't have any money, and I got destroyed. I couldn't even get out of first gear. And there were some generous people who did help me along to even try to get up to bat. And it just wasn't in the cards. I mean, if the shoe was, or excuse me, if it was today, that'd be quite a big difference, because I can afford to litigate till the cows come home, and we'll go after everybody with fucking gleeful abandon. However, I want to make an appeal right now to all of Nate's followers, even if you don't follow Nate. Please give, and give generously to his GoFundMe, because this is going to be a very protracted process that is going to cost him a great deal. And without your generous donations and your continued assistance in this case, I imagine Nate will lose everything. So please give, and give generously. Nobody can
yeah.
say I'm not a good sport.
Um. So the document, the reason why this is happening for him, because a procedural order setting dates for questioning to discovery pursuant to Part 5 of the Alberta Rules of Court. Um, and the grounds for making this application has been clear. It said the defendant has been uncooperative in scheduling questioning to move this matter forward. A procedural order is required. Um, yeah, he just doesn't want to answer questions. And honestly, the lawyer, I spoke with one lawyer today. I think you spoke with the lawyer as well. The lawyer I spoke with said that these are the kinds of like little excuses that judges don't look fondly upon, because there's really no legitimate reason
No, they'll get
Um,
pissed, real pissed.
yeah,
That's when they end up awarding costs and cautioning people.
yeah, they've already awarded costs to one side that he's appealing, but it's like, what did he expect would happen? Like, I mean, you don't have to be an expert in law to realize that when you're called into questioning during a civil suit and you fail to appear, that's pretty much it. You could say during questioning, I would love to be able to answer that question more robustly, but information is still about to come out. As long as you sit in that chair and answer the questions, that's all really you have to do. But again, I'm stuck in the cost incurred citation for him. I know you're not, but that to me is just too rich. Like when you exhaust that two hundred eight
Legal
thousand
system's too
dollars,
rich.
when you exhaust that $208,000, then come talk to people about costs incurred because you'll probably raise another 100 grand anyways. You know.
I think he will, and again, I hope he does because look, if he's innocent, then he's going to need all the help he can get, and if he's guilty, he's going to need all the help he can get. So, hey, ride the pony to the end. Let's let the process unfold in court, and let's see who's telling the truth, and let's see who's lying. I say donate your money, give him a fighting chance in court, let it be a level playing field, and let's get to the truth.
I mean, the case is interesting because he was pulled off the air when it first happened, right? He wasn't allowed to talk about it anymore, and then I think was it when the civil case was brought forward, then he was able to go back on the air again because of the case. Is that how that works?
I believe to be technically correct that he volunteered or voluntarily took himself off the air until a ruling had been decided and
Oh,
then
okay.
made an agreement, a voluntary agreement to modify or take things down. I'm not exactly sure of the language, but I do believe it was something along those lines to be fair.
This is kind of what let's just say, if we take like an overview of this and why things like this happen. Um, a lot of it has to do with what we've been talking about for months. When you find yourself reporting on stories from an angle that is self-serving, from an angle that where you're way too involved with one of the parties to be able to maintain objectivity, neutrality, impartiality, that's when these things happen. Like, you know, whenever I did stories when I was with Dean Blundell, when we weren't just talking, but when I was interviewing people, if I didn't agree with that person I was interviewing, it didn't matter because my opinion didn't matter on anything. I just would let them talk. Sometimes they would hang themselves. Sometimes they didn't hang themselves. Sometimes it was a great conversation. Sometimes it wasn't. But I never found myself so invested in the story where I would find myself saying something that was completely, illegal or offside. Um, there'll be people out there that cite the example of me getting sued for that one thing that I don't want to talk about right now. But as we later found out, the people involved in that were vexatious as hell. They have dozens of lawsuits on the go, and they sue for sport. So that's kind of a
And from what I'm hearing, an MSN outlet has a story coming out about one of those individuals, something to do with the. Oh well, we won't ruin the surprise.
well, he was already caught with spoofed emails.
Well, you got to say
Spoof.
allegedly, James. You got to say allegedly, or you're going to get sued by
I
them
didn't.
fucking
I
shysters.
didn't say his name. I didn't say his name. But if you're a lawyer and you get caught spoofing emails in certain
Allegedly.
cases, allegedly, it does put a stain on everything you've ever been involved in.
Well,
You
I
know.
think at that point, especially if you might have held a position, say in the government, where you oversaw, I don't know, cops and judges and things of that nature, I think anything that crossed your desk with your signature on it is, well, I think that every defense attorney or any litigant in any court in Alberta, well, they're probably going to be lining up for a lot of fucking damages.
Yeah. If we move to
Yikes.
Carrie Tate, I mean,
You move on, Gary Tate.
I
Good
I, I
luck.
always think of no, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I'm sorry.
Be
Let's
nice.
keep it above board.
Above board.
When we move to Carrie Tate, I mean it's interesting how much they have in common, Carrie Tate and Nate Pike, in how they approached the story and how they cherry picked out and omitted the same type of information that didn't fall into their narratives. Are we seeing I used to wonder if we were seeing a strengthening of independent media as they aspire to be more like mainstream outlets, or are we seeing a deterioration of mainstream outlets as they behave more like independent outlets?
Absolutely, I would agree. 100%. This is what we have, a de-evolving of our media, less accountability than ever, less responsibility, less fact. Look, I make no bones about what I am. I'm a political fixer. I'm being employed right now by a lawyer, a law firm, and a few other people. I have never met Sam Marish, never spoken to the man. Who are my people working for that I work for? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's not germane to my agenda. My agenda and my orders are very simple: dig in, burrow in, figure out what's going on, share information, hire professionals as needed. We have a cyber team, we have lawyers, we have private investigators. My job is to get to the bottom of it. That's it. If you can prove illegality on your end, then by God, prove it. By God, prove it. But I'm coming after you. And I've already found a shitload of illegality, especially in elections, Alberta. Mr. Glenn Ressler, we're still trying to serve you. And if you'd like, you could read Democracy Watch, maybe Mr. Duff Conacher. I mean, you've made his acquaintance. I mean, he's the reason you're in the fucking Supreme Court right now, isn't it? I mean, hounding you and getting your illegality out. Paula Hale, we're looking into you. Tell us, is she at Mousy? And your beautiful bride, Zanul. Tell us, you're about to find out.
Shout out
And
to Zanul.
yeah, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. But what I'm saying is, we're going to let the chips fall where it may. And if nobody did anything wrong, then everything will be fine. But the same, I just want to ask the audience out there, why, if you're so convinced, if you are standing so firmly in the truth about this story, why will you not, to this day, treat people in Alberta like adults and give the full breadth of the story and the backgrounds of the accusers? Athena Menthalopoulos, not a single article has been written acknowledging her horrendous trail of corruption in British Columbia, documented by mainstream media, by the auditor, excuse me, not the auditor general, the ombudsman. That has not made it. The court pleadings, what has been going on during court? You think since Kerry has been writing so breathlessly about everything except a fart in the bathroom during this case, that what's going on with Nate, the stall tactics, the awarding of costs, the actually having to be dragged to question. You think that would have been reported on, even if she did it in a positive light? You think she would have reported on Athena doing the exact same things? But no. Why?
Well,
You need to ask yourself why.
the only positive reporting you touched on it the other day, but I thought we could have used a little bit more thoroughness when talking about it. You and I were on that Lebanon thing for so long
Oh
about
yeah.
how, and so
Welcome down.
Carrie Tate and Tom Cardoza write a like a 3,000 word piece on Samarish, um, going after him from when he was a teenager until the present day story, and we before that article came out for months were on them on Lebanon. Now the byline for that article that they just wrote about Mr. Marish was written by Carrie and Tom with additional reporting from Alana Smith. And you and I found that kind of funny because the Lebanon stuff was all about Mark McKinnon,
Yeah.
a London, England based journalist for the Globe and Mail that covers foreign policy and things like that. From all accounts, he's a pretty decent journalist. As far
Well, I
as
wanted nothing to fucking do with this.
right, yeah, probably right. But all of our reporting on their reporting when it came to Lebanon was the trip that Globe reporter Mark McKinnon made.
Yep.
And according to locals, he allegedly fancied himself as this potential valuable individual that they met at Jub Janine in the village because he could help allegedly facilitate a better infrastructure program for their village, including a clean water system.
Yep.
So these people who talk to us directly, and we have multiple sources telling us the same thing, that's how he explained his role for the Globe and Mail. I'm here to do a story about your village, and by the way, I think that our media company can hook you up with the right people who will provide infrastructure projects like clean water. That's what they said. Mark McKinnon said. And
But
then when they
that's okay,
published,
right, audience? That's okay. It's okay to lie to a bunch of people whose standard of living, quite honestly, would horrify you.
they
People who
make
get
$120 a month, the
yeah,
average resident there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and death is always just around the corner. Think about where they're living. Think about the political and military issues that face them, and these people. But it's okay. It's okay to pull the wool over their eyes for the greater
Okay.
good, right?
So
Greater
here's the
good.
thing. So here's the thing then. So we've been talking about that aspect the whole time and about how it was really a fishing expedition to see if
Yep.
they didn't have any dirt. They went there to see if they could find some, which again is a very expensive trip when you don't have anything before you leave. But whatever.
Same way
So
they
we're
sent me
we're
to Montreal.
right. We're harping on them for that aspect. And they never put out a story about Lebanon. And then when they finally put out that 3,000 piece that chronologicalizes Mr. Moraish's life from when he was 19 to present day, they include a Lebanon portion, and it's all praise and glowing opinions from people in Lebanon. And what's funny about that, there's no Mark McKinnon on the byline.
None.
So they just completely. So listen, we don't know exactly what happened
Fuckery.
behind the scenes, but what it feels like, and I hope this doesn't sound like hubris, but like we were dogging them about that Lebanon trip for months,
Yep.
and then when they finally write their bio piece, they don't include any of the reporting that we were, rightfully curious about because of the whole NGO aspect to their identity, to Mark McKinnon's identity when he first got there. And then when they put out the bio piece, they don't include any of Mark's reporting, but what turned out to be the only positive aspect of that story in the Globe and Mail was stuff that had to do with Lebanon. I don't know if they took another trip there. I don't know if this was done via telephone or email, but I would love to know the backstory on that. I don't know if you have any information on that, but like that, I found that to
I
be
think the
quite
Globe's
peculiar.
180 probably had something to do with an ambassador in Lebanon maybe making a complaint to a Canadian source. I think that might have spurned on the Globe's sense to get this fucking hot potato out of their hands and put a bow on it fast.
Well, in any event, it goes to show that universally, whether it's an independent podcaster with a weird thing on his face, or whether it's a longtime reporter for the Globe and Mail, I know you wanted to be up
You
there,
are
but
really on people today. I'm trying to be nice.
I think I have good reason not to be nice, but I still think I'm nicer than he is. If that makes you feel better. I'm just saying. But whatever. You have independent podcasters and you have mainstream reporters behaving the same way, different styles maybe, but behaving the same way. Not doing their readers or viewers any favors, not really managing their own sense of what it means to be an objective writer or journalist or reporter. And you end up with the same souffle, which is sunk in the bowl and almost inedible. So what to do about this? This is an age-old story now. I don't know how we fix media. I don't think you and I are going to be able to do it, obviously.
Can't
But
be done. Can't be done. It needs to be burnt to the ground and rebuilt. Every mainstream outlet at this point is completely beholden to Ottawa for their government dollars, trade unions. Um, these are dying empires that are quickly going the way of the dodo bird. The Globe and Mail, their viewership, they're dying. They're existing on ad revenue from the very special interest groups who they go to bat to defend constantly. It's their lifeblood. You can't really blame them because they won't exist otherwise. These things
well,
only exist now as rags that act as mouthpieces for fucking unions who aren't really there for the worker. They're there to basically pimp them out. They're your pimps. They're not your union.
they're your pimps. They're not your union. David Wallace, thanks for joining us again tonight, man. We appreciate it.
Tally ho, Glenn Wrestler, coming to see you soon. Soon.
All
Cheers.
right, buddy. That was David Wallace. We'll have more on this. I mean, obviously, that case with Nate. I have both a professional interest in that and a personal one. I won't get into it, but I think everyone knows why I have personal beef with him. But